Welcome to Kapeleris Ultimate Talk TV. Be inspired, informed, and elevate your mind one step at a time. Talking about life, real estate, business, and beyond. Your host, author, speaker, real estate broker, Carmela Zita Kapeleris.
Welcome back to Kapeleris Talk TV. I'd like to introduce my next guest. He's a broker-owner from the realty firm in London, Ontario. Here is Ryan Hodge.
Thank you so much
Ryan.
for having me.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here. I wanted to ask you, how do you live such a busy life with 3 active boys and at the same time manage to grow one of the fastest real estate companies in London, Ontario in just 2 years?
Well, it's a good question, and it wasn't always the case where I was really good at it. And I think it's constantly something that I need to work on, and I find that if you can look at balance inside of your business and inside of your quality of life, then that's where it has the effect to give you the freedom and joy that you want inside of our busy careers.
Right. Well, how did you get into real estate? Let's start there.
Sure. Well, for about 10 years, I managed a large jewelry manufacturer across the country. I was a national sales manager.
Oh, really?
It was our family business, and as my father started to slow down and I was ramping up, I knew that I needed to make some changes, so I made the choice to get into real estate. I was licensed in 2008. My first full year was 2009, and I was fortunate to sell over 100 homes that year, which was a little bit about my story, which kind of propelled me into the real estate market. And over time, I just started to evolve with systems and strategy and working with some different people. And 2013, I started my company.
Great. Wow, that's a lot of progress in a little bit of time.
Yes.
And how many employees right now in your brokerage?
Right now, we're heading for 90 agents. I think we're at 87 or 88 members as of this week, and that's in just over 2 years.
Great. That's fantastic. And this is in London, right?
Yes.
Are you thinking of expanding out to different areas?
Well, we are. We want to make sure that the realty firm grows with the right people. And it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, a certain production level or anything like that. Right now in our market, we have one of the top per agent productions. But it's because we've looked at growing with the right people who have the right energy. And from the perspective of growing outside of the London real estate market, we'd like to do the same thing with people that want to grow and have a similar energy.
That's great. Tell me, what is your biggest accomplishment to date?
My number one accomplishment is my 3 children and my family. And I know that sometimes sounds a little bit cliche, but
Yes.
you know, over time and over a very busy progression through real estate, I wasn't always the best dad or husband. And it took me...
Takes up a lot of your time.
It does, and it takes a lot of energy if you're not focusing on the right things. And I really had to start focusing on personal responsibility, self-serving behavior versus self-centered behavior, and putting the right things first to really, you know, be a good dad and husband.
That seems to be like your biggest personal accomplishment. What about your biggest business accomplishment? Do you have one?
Well, I mean, you know, my story is unique in the fact that I sold 117 homes in my first year. Not a lot of people have done that. It's my story. It's a unique story. My partner sold 3 homes in his first year and gradually grew to over 100 homes and a very productive agent.
That's good.
But I think that our number one accomplishment is the company. You know, we started it from scratch. We had a very good relationship within our previous brokerage, but we didn't bring any agents with us. And we grew our company very quickly with good people that are growing. And some of their stories inside of our brokerage are what are really amazing.
Well, that is a great accomplishment. Tell me, what is your number one inspirational source? Is it spiritual or motivational?
I am a spiritual person. I didn't always have a really strong spiritual foundation. I believe in actively seeking awareness of the self and looking at all silos of our life to make sure that we're cleansed and clear, because they carry over and they have spillover into the business realm as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I do focus on a lot of spirituality, and I focus on a lot of, physical improvements. I went through a pretty significant body transformation over the course of a year.
Yes, you lost a lot of weight, right?
I did 40 pounds in a year.
Wow, that's
So
great.
body, mind, spirit.
Yeah, all three have to work together.
Yes.
So you work out, you're into physical fitness, nutrition, and you also have spiritual mentors. Do you have a coach too?
I do. So I was fortunate enough to start working with John Chaplack, and I've coached
Oh,
with.
I actually interviewed him
Yes,
for our
that's
show.
right.
Yeah,
That's
he was on
right.
TV a little while ago.
So I've been fortunate enough to coach on the real estate spectrum with a number of different coaches who I've had great relationships with, and I think that you're interviewing Kathleen Black, who's a wonderful coach as well.
Yes.
So I spent some time with her and her previous organization, and when I became a broker owner, I started looking at what can I do to better myself to become a better leader? And I reached out to John, who took me into a completely different space than I thought I would go to. We looked at the body, mind, and spirit as the three silos that we'd be coaching on. And
Right.
fortunately, I've developed a good friendship with him, and
Yeah.
I'm coaching for his organization, Interrupt the Pattern, as well on some personal development coaching, along with the real estate coaching that I do for agents and broker owners.
So John is your coach.
He is.
Wow. And tell us about this Interrupt the Pattern coaching.
Sure. So Interrupt the Pattern is a book that John wrote.
Yes. It's a good book too.
It is. And it's, he's a vehicle for the information that he's learned. And
Yes.
his message is about actively seeking the truth and awareness about ourselves.
Right.
And bringing forth a better self and making the next right choice and the next right choice. And every choice that we make is the opportunity to learn, grow, and evolve. And it's
Right.
the same things that appear in our lives.
Yes.
So I'm fortunate enough to coach in it, and I continue to coach in a few different segments of that with him as well.
Oh, great. That's good. I know that it goes much more deeper than that.
Yes.
Because I've talked to John, and I know that there's a lot of inspiration involved with this coaching. And to be a better person, you also are good at your business and in your personal life.
Yes.
So it's a hard thing to do, but I think it can be done if you have other people, mentors around you helping you, right?
Absolutely.
So you use social media at a very high level to attract clients, coaching clients, and new agents. How do you do that? What is your method of using social media?
Well, I think that the number one thing to look at is that things like social media, specifically Facebook, are the platform that the majority of our clients are on right now. And too often we get too wrapped up saying the right things to the wrong people and the wrong things to the right people. And I've tracked and analyzed Facebook over the course of almost a decade of real estate. And I think it's important to note that we are no longer in just a sales business. We are in a human enrollment business. So how do we get people to enroll into our social media spaces where the majority of our potential clients are on? Well, that's through engagement. It's through building personal messages and having an online dialogue, just like an offline dialogue. And that's what I coach on the most, how to get people to enroll into our space. And it's not for everybody.
Yes, that's true. And this is on Facebook. Do you also use Twitter and LinkedIn?
I do. So I try and couple all of them together. I think Facebook's still the number one. Facebook is a platform that you can use on a variety of different levels. I think that the challenge is that a lot of agents are, afraid to engage, or they're afraid to post.
Right.
And it's about finding their own path of least resistance, even on that platform,
Right.
to have an active message that they're going to be able to promote and post themselves responsibly.
Right. And how do you pull people out of social media and get them to come and see you and join your office or be a part of your coaching or buy a house from you for that matter? How do you do that?
Well, the number one thing is to look at mirroring the way that other people communicate. our society has become so much more cocooned that not everybody wants to be cold called or door knocked. And not that those traditional means of prospecting for business don't work,
Right.
but the key is to have them engage. And a lot of agents will have a, a business page, but more often than not, potential clients want to engage on a community page. Because what do we engage with more, our business or our community?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So when it's on a community page, for example, people will then enroll in a community space where they're finding information that they are engaging on and that they find interesting, and then you can roll it out into an offline conversation or a meeting or perhaps a client mixer that supports them as well.
Right. Yes, that's true. You have to create an event, get those people out to your office or to your event and engage in them further.
Yes.
And then from there, follow up onto a CRM where you can keep in contact with them. And I think you are one of the best at this. You have a really awesome CRM. I think you contact people 2-3 times a week with videos and blogs.
I do.
Yeah, tell us about that.
I think that it's important to, in this business, it's important to know the difference between being respected and being liked. And not everybody wakes up every day and says, I wonder how Ryan's real estate career is doing today.
Yeah.
So it's important to send gentle reminders that aren't about necessarily selling, but it's about engaging with people and engaging with consumers, potential recruits, members of the public that we'd like to speak with, and getting them to attract to us on the business silo.
Well, this is kind of like an off-key question, but what is one of your biggest regrets in terms of business or personal life? Do you have any regrets, or is your life perfect?
Oh no, it's far.
Do you have any
from
regrets
perfect.
that you have learned from?
You know,
That you can share with other people, that there's hope?
I think that every experience is an opportunity to evolve, and what shows up in our lives appear for a reason, and it's our opportunity to decide if we're going to grow from that experience or not.
Right.
And if we don't, that's okay, but the same lesson is going to continue to appear, and it will appear possibly repackaged in a number of different
really
ways.
Good, yeah.
But it will teach us about ourselves and where we need to grow. And I've certainly had different times in my life where maybe my ego caught up to me a little bit, where I became too transactional in business, where even friends and family had to book an appointment to actually see me. And I had to drop that ego game. And if I had any regrets, I wish that I would have done it a little bit sooner. Sometimes you need to make up for a little bit of lost time, but again, that too teaches us about ourselves.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, ego is a big thing. How do we overcome ego and get to that point where we're more authentic and real? Transparency.
Well, I think with ego, it's different for everybody, but it always exists. So, I look at how do we let that ride close and instead of pushing it away, and I had to learn that too. And how do we bring in, the best possible version of ourselves every day and notice that we're all in it together. And
that's right.
The ego says, I want it all, whereas
Right.
the soul says there's enough for everybody. And I try and look at that perspective a little bit differently as well.
That is a great answer.
Thank you.
That's really good. What are the biggest challenges you face with when you're coaching a client, let's say, or as a broker owner?
Well, I think that, the number one challenge is commitment, right? And there's a big difference between goals and commitments. Goals are a series of ideas, and sure, we need to have them, where commitments are actually taking action. So it's more about the challenge of getting good folks that have all the potential in the world to take action rather than just create the idea.
That's really good. What makes you different than your competition?
Well, the number one reason that people come to our company is from the perspective of leadership. I mean, we're two agents that have been active in our market that have had documented results of selling, over a couple hundred homes a year. And we try and infuse our market with goodwill and value. And we don't want to be like everybody else. It's not about being better, it's about being different. And so how do we support our agents to reach their own hopes and dreams inside of real estate rather than telling them that there's only one or two ways to sell real estate? And that's what I had when I first started. I was told you can be a top producer if you make 200 cold calls a day, or if you spend thousands and thousands a month on marketing. And yes, they both work, but there are hundreds of different ways to generate business.
And the thing is, you have to, I think the agents that think out of the box and are different are usually the ones that will succeed. Because if you do things like everybody else, you're only going to be the same as everybody else. And yeah, I noticed that you are doing things different. And maybe one of your values is that you're offering information as a broker owner, and you're offering lots of information without people having to ask for it. So people are drawn to that, right? I think that's where they perceive the value. Don't you think that that's true?
I agree, and I mean, it's a great reflection of what you do.
Thank you.
I mean, you're an incredible realtor, and you've got amazing experience in it, and you host a show where you're providing information to people. And of course, they're going to love that as well. And
I have great people like you
well,
on
thank you. And I find that when we serve and support others, success is never an issue.
So Ryan, do you have any other topics or events that you would like to talk to us about?
We do. We're fortunate to have an incredible event coming up in the GTA. And we have over 300 agents, broker owners coming from across the country. There are 3 speakers and 3 different messages, and it's going to be a great day. It
is all about collaboration and sharing.
Yes.
And I think that's how we grow as individuals and as a whole.
Absolutely.
All of us together. So it's great. It's great having you here. Any words of wisdom before we go and wrap it up?
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and if I can give any words of wisdom to agents, pick something and take action.
Very good. That's really good. And thank you for coming all the way from London, Ontario, although I know that you come here very often, and you're quite a busy person, and congratulations on all your success.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.